What was something embarrassing that you did, tried to hide, but got caught anyway? Story 1. I worked at a really small shop as a teenager, and towards the end of the night, 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. or so, the lone toilet broke. Of course, I needed to take a dump, but couldn't. We closed shop shortly after midnight, and I started my walk home. By the time I was on my walk home, the dump I needed to do had become an emergency. I'm trying to walk faster, but that seems to make me need to go worse. So I slow down. My stomach is going through intervals between a scale of, OMFG, you must empty now, and you should go to the bathroom soon. Each time on the slope I feel better. I try to run a little just to get to home sooner. Eventually, maybe a quarter mile only from my home, I let some out totally unintentionally, but it feels glorious. My body is furiously trying to expel what I've got in me, but I just want to make it that last little bit to get home. More escapes, outside of my control, but at least a bit of pressure is finally relieved. I never realized pooping your pants could feel so good. When I finally get home, I've got about a fistful in my pants, and I just want to get inside and clean it up. Thankfully, I'm wearing tidy whities, which is keeping the mess mostly contained. I tried the door handle, but it was locked for the first time all summer. I can tell my dad is watching TV in the other room, so I knock on the door so he can let me in. He takes his sweet, sweet time. He finally gets to the door and opens it. Hey, Fadouk, how was work? Your mother and I are watching this good movie. It's about this and that and has all these cool scenes. Me. Dad, I've got to use the bathroom. Dad. Okay, yeah, sure. Just listen to this scene we watched where this and that happened. It was amazing. Hey, it's a really nice night out tonight, isn't it? He just stands there talking to me while I'm holding my butt with one hand trying to contain the nastiness that's in my pants. I nod and go, uh-huh, to everything he's saying just to get inside as quickly as possible. But my dad just wants to be chatty while blocking the door, and I'm still standing outside. Some more squirts out, and now it's definitely liquid. I really don't want to drop a massive diarrhea bomb on my porch while talking to my dad, and since I'm 60 seconds tops from that dreadful situation coming to life, I decide to just rush into the house. Still with one hand containing the disaster in my pants, my other hand pushes my dad's arm off the doorframe he was leaning against. I rush into the house and go straight to the bathroom. My dad seems angry and shouts, Hey, what gives? Why are you running? What is... I finally barely hear him saying, Oh, as I close the bathroom door. I can only presume he got a wonderful view of me holding my pants with a large wet spot in the back and plenty of brownness. Listen to your kids. Why is he just standing in the doorway? I mean, right now, the weather here is summer. It's really nice. I wouldn't mind standing outside for a break for a little bit, but just... Just, Dad, move, please. If you love me as your son, just move. Story 2. A few years back, a few friends and I decided to take some mushrooms and have some fun during the summer. We had been smoking weed for a while that day and took the mushrooms in the evening. I was pretty baked and had a crazy body high. Probably about an hour after taking the mushrooms, I start to get an even crazier body high. I don't smoke anymore, but one of my favorite things about smoking weed was self-stimulating while baked out of my mind. I had also never self-stimulated on mushrooms before and hatched a brilliant scheme to go rub one out before my friends and I really started to trip. My two friends were down in the basement watching the last few minutes of Lord of the Rings, so I excused myself to go upstairs to my room and try to explore what self-stimulating off while super baked and on mushrooms would be like. I pull up a video and get myself situated at my desk, which is right next to my door. I go about my business and start to become very distracted by various elements that were not great for keeping my soldier upright. This is more difficult than I expected. I pull up my all-time favorite video and set my sights on trying to finish. I'm tripping pretty hard at this point and kind of lose track of time. Prior to this, I had turned the sound off, but now I'm using headphones. The sound is incredible. The visuals are getting crazy. I feel like I'm in the video. I was in my room for about 45 minutes, and it felt like 5. Understandably, one of my friends was curious about where I had gone and came up to find me. I thought I had locked my door, but in my inebriated state, didn't close it all the way. One of my friends came in right as I was about to finish. I was incredibly startled by him coming in. I closed my laptop and stood up so fast trying to pull my pants up that I almost knocked my desk over. I stammered out, "I was just changing." But there was no hiding it. He definitely knew, but luckily we've been friends for years and he didn't care. We had a laugh and went hiking. Too long didn't read, wanted to jerk off on mushrooms, got too distracted, and spent way too much time trying to finish. Concerned friend comes to find me, never finding out what finishing on shrooms feels like. I do it in the fresh produce aisle at the supermarket all the time. It's great. Nothing I'm familiar with, but nothing as far as the illicit substances, but time does get away from you sometimes. And yeah, always make sure. Lock the door. Always. Always. Story 3. One time, my wife and I went grocery shopping, and my wife was like, "I want to make some chocolate milk. I haven't had any in so long." So she got some Hershey's syrup and a gallon of milk. We went home, watched TV, and went to bed. Only, I couldn't sleep. I had something on my mind. See, I'd been silent about the whole chocolate milk situation, but the fact was, when she mentioned making chocolate milk, I got very excited. It had been years for me as well. So I got up, went to the kitchen, made myself a glass of chocolate milk, and oh, by deity, it was delicious. My mother was a cruel woman. Cruel to the point of telling me I could have one glass of chocolate milk and not letting me have any more till the next day. "Well, Mama ain't home tonight. Josh is grown up and married. Josh has pubes now. Josh goes to work. Josh is having all the deity-damn chocolate milk he wants." So I poured another glass, and another, and another. When all was said and done, more than half the gallon was gone, as was a sizable chunk of the chocolate syrup. Josh was beginning to feel sick. I went into the bathroom and vomited, got a little on the dog, but she was okay with it. I felt gravely embarrassed about having drank so much chocolate milk and vomiting on the dog, so I decided to throw out the gallon and the chocolate. I figured I could just tell my wife we must have left them on the counter at the grocery store, as I had been the one who put the groceries away. The next morning, my wife was ticked to find all the milk and chocolate gone. I tried to say we left them, but she was far too smart for that. "You probably drank 5 or 6 glasses of that stuff and then vomited and then threw it away to hide the evidence." "Somebody was vomiting last night. It woke me up." I hung my head low and apologized. She hugged me and told me I was an idiot. "I hope that she made you go back to the store to get more milk and syrup." "Yeah, really. Why didn't you say all that stuff to your wife?" "Josh is a grown-up man. Josh has pubes. You know this, honey. Josh wants chocolate milk, and it's not like he took it all away and left nothing for the wife." Story 4. When I was about 12 years old, we had this family reunion. No, this story isn't going where your perverted minds want it to go. The reunion was in this beautiful mountain area, in this little line of cabins. My parents rented the cabin at the far end, and one evening most of the family, myself included, were hanging out in the cabin at the other end of the line. There's only one bathroom in these cabins, and it's connected to the kitchen where everyone is hanging out and chatting. Suddenly, my stomach gurgles like mad, and I know I have some diarrhea about to happen. I don't want to use the toilet, though, because I'm too embarrassed that everyone will hear me, so I decide to try and wait it out and see if it will go away. It works for a bit, But then suddenly the diarrhea feeling comes back with a vengeance. And now, someone is in the bathroom. Damn. I sneak out of the house and start walking back to my parents' cabin. I get about a quarter of the way when I realize there's no way I'll make it if I just walk, so I start running. I get to the front door, but before I can open it, I poop my pants. Badly. It even got in my socks. Probably about 10 minutes later, my parents notice I'm missing and walk back to their cabin to see if I'm there. They open the door and find me crying, trying to wash the poop out of my jeans, underwear, and socks in the sink. They were really cool about it, though, and threw the clothes away and never even told my older brother about it. Thank deity. Props to your parents. Story 5. So I really hated hard-boiled eggs as a kid. But my parents insisted on eating one every morning because health or something. I tried throwing it away once or twice, but got caught, so my parents knew to be wary of any child shenanigans. What could I do? I couldn't take it to school and dispose of it there. If I got caught doing that, I'd be a weirdo. I couldn't hide it somewhere, not the trash can, because it would rot and get awful. One day, my parents left to go to work, and I had about a 5-minute window. Then, I noticed the roof. OMG, yes! Throw the egg on the roof. Out of sight, out of mind. A bird will probably eat it or something. Perfect crime. I did that for 2 or 3 days and was very proud of myself. And then, about a week later, I hear my dad mentioning needing to change the roof shingles on the house. Maybe the hypothetical birds ate all the eggs. Or maybe the roofer guy came down with a plastic bag and a weird look and said, "You had all these hard-boiled eggs on your roof." And my parents slowly turned to look at me, and I wanted to expire right then. A bird will probably eat it or something? That's some weird kind of cannibalism there. Story 6. My junior year of high school, I joined the cross-country team because my friend said it was fun and practice started early August at 6 in the morning. So the workout was perimeters where we ran around the school a couple of times. Each time is 2.5 miles, and on my second perimeter, I have to poop. So I run up to the track and ask my coach if I could use the bathroom. He told me to hurry up because we're going to stretch soon. I started to speed walk to the bathroom, which was kind of far from the track, and about halfway to the hallway door, I pooped my pants. But there was more poop. At this point, I sprint down a long old hallway, borderline liquid poop dripping from my short shorts, but open the bathroom door only to find the bathroom is pitch black. I shuffle my way into the biggest stall, and at this point, I either go out there half naked or pull my pants down and poop into the abyss. So I poop into the dark, and I didn't even make it near the toilet. I spent a good amount of time looking for the toilet paper dispenser, find it, clean myself as good as I can, and head back outside. I take a back way to the front of the school where the soccer field is, grab some mud, and smear it on my leg where the poop was and some grass to make it look like my shoe did it. I stretch, and we do the butterfly one, and the poop smell seeps from my thighs. People start staring and see the poop that covers the inner part of my thighs. Freaking short shorts. You tried. Why am I seeing all these poop your pants stories? Is that the only thing people are trying and failing to get away with? There's a few other things, but I don't know, how am I? Was that 3 or 4 stories of pooping your pants so far? I don't think I can keep track. Story 7. I remember once when I first started my period, I thought it was pee or something, and what's more, I was out watching a soccer match with my dad. Man, that man can't handle blood, for heaven's sake, so I was so embarrassed and scared because I thought my organs came out and it's starting to bleed out my butt, because that's where poop comes out after everything, right? Anyway, I was wearing bright red pants and there was a huge dark red patch in the middle at the back, and I was like, man, Dad's gonna see this and he's gonna poop bricks. So I decided to try to cover it up by not letting my dad see the back of me. So I was walking awkwardly when I went back to the game. After that, we were about to leave. I stood up and started to go when this lady went, "Hey, you have blood on your pants." And my dad saw because I was walking out of the stadium and he was behind me and he went all white and started freaking out. Remember when I said he couldn't handle blood, especially not that much blood? and he was like hyperventilating so much that the lady who pointed out my bloodied pants had to calm him down and tell him it's nothing because it's just period blood, and he made him look at it again, not knowing that he's scared of blood, and his face was so white. It was so embarrassing for me because everyone around was just looking at me and my dad freaking out. Too long didn't read? Got my period. Dad, who has a phobia of blood, spots that is bigger than your index finger, starts freaking out while another lady had to calm him down. That lady has terrible tact. Story 8. Back in the 2nd grade, my friend had started dating this girl he had a crush on. I was friends with both of them, so using an old box from one of my dad's home design software boxes, I made them a gift. I wrapped up the box with some fancy tape and put a note I wrote inside of it. Now, I had just learned the concept of smashing and I hadn't fully understood it yet. So, on this note, I had written, "If you love her, you can have a one-way, you can have a two-way, you can have a three-way," and so on and so forth until about 12 or so. I thought this would be a great present for them and that they would love it. I wrote a note and stuck it to the front that said, "To the happy couple." I then proceeded to try and hide this box behind our small, awful printer and thought that I had done a great job. I then went to bed and thought nothing of it. Then, about an hour later, my dad called me out of bed and asked me what the box in his hand was. He found the box and then opened it and showed the awful note to my mom. My parents also must have thought I was going to give it to them, since it wouldn't exactly cross your mind that your 6 to 7-year-old would be giving it to one of their friends. Too long didn't read? Made present for friend and new girlfriend. Added overly obscene note in 2nd grader talk. Parents find said note. Parents think it was for them. Story 9. This happened on Monday. I went to get blood tests done. I don't fear needles, but something about blood tests always makes me dizzy to the point where I nearly faint. I think it's the idea of them extracting blood from my body, but I'm not really sure. Anyway, this nurse was clearly new and couldn't find a vein. This is normal, but experienced nurses usually can in the end. This one just kind of panicked and stabbed me anywhere, so then it took ages for the blood to come out. She kept whispering, "Oh, it's taking ages to come out. It's really slow," etc., in my ear. I started going dizzy, but I tried to stick it out as it's usually over before I actually have time to faint. Nope. My ear's blocked, so I said, "I don't feel good," and she had to stop and lay me down, etc. After laying there briefly, I felt awkward, so I said, "Okay, I feel better," and got up so my mom could have her blood taken. I sat in a seat next to her. I felt a bit off, and then suddenly felt a bit sick. Then I was sick. Everywhere. All over my mom, all over the nurse, all over myself. I wanted to not tell anyone, obviously, and when I got home, my brother asked, "So, how'd it go?" I rolled my eyes and said, "It was fine," with a little smile to give the impression that it was no big deal. Then he saw my jeans. My puke-covered jeans. And I guess then he smelt the vomit too. He grinned and said, "So you were sick." Then as my smile fell, he walked away laughing. Dang it. I've had a few times in my life where I did some regular blood donations for cash, and I have never, ever felt the need to throw up. Thankfully, I had people who really knew how to get to the right vein and everything to get things started, so wow, I couldn't even imagine that happening. Story 10. One day after school, I was 16 or 17, my girlfriend and I went back to my house to get it on. School was out around 3:15 and I had to work at 4. I worked in a shop my dad ran. About 3:30 we were getting with it and I hear the front door of the house. I hide my girl in the stairway to the attic, throw on some shorts and go downstairs to the kitchen, shirt off, and pretend like I'm getting dressed for work. My dad had stopped by the house for some reason. There was awkward small talk, and a couple minutes later, he left and said he was headed to the shop and would see me there. As soon as he left, I bolted up to get my girl. We aborted the smashing. Great line, huh? And both got dressed and rushed out to my car. As I'm pulling out of the driveway, I look in my rearview mirror and see a familiar van coming up the street behind me. There's Dad. He knew something was up and circled the block waiting for me. Nailed us, straight to rights. Took my girl home and went to work. Dad was there, and things were awkward. Few words were spoken other than him saying, "Son, don't lie to me. I've been there, done that. I hope you're being safe." "Yes, Dad, you don't have to worry. I'm sorry." We never spoke of it again. And that's the first time I got caught in an amorous act. Story 11. When I was 17, I was at a 4th of July house party and I had hooked up with one of the young ladies there. We went into my friend's older brother's room, locked the door, and proceeded to get busy. Well, it was the first time I had ever been with a squirter. In fact, I didn't even know that was a thing and assumed she had peed all over me. She was on top and it got everywhere. It soaked this guy's bed. When we finished up, I didn't really know what to do, so I flipped his mattress and remade the bed and went back out to the party and had a good time. Women talked too, so I wound up getting a pretty good rep from the whole encounter. I had all but forgotten about it at the beginning of the school year when that guy's older brother kicked the hell out of me on the first day of school for messing up his bed. It was worth the butt kicking, to be honest, but it was 3 years later that I learned she did not pee, and that was why I had girls that wouldn't give me the time of day before starting to talk to me. I always cry at a happy ending. Story 12. In high school, freshman year, I developed into a bit of a pyromaniac. I absolutely loved burning random things. I don't know why. Well, my parents caught on and forbade me from burning anything, so I had to do it in secret. One day, I decided to try to burn an orange. I took it into the bathroom. I think I stuffed some stuff inside it and tried to burn it. Obviously, it didn't burn very well, and I ended up giving up. I, however, didn't want to throw the burnt orange in the trash, so I decided it would flush easily enough. After all, I had taken bigger dumps than this orange. It seemed to go down fine, and I went about my day. Well, an hour later, my sister's friend came over and clogged the hell out of our toilet. She was about my age and decently attractive, so I thought it'd be funny to tease her about it. My parents had to call a plumber, and dumbfounded, he told my parents he found a burnt orange. They were ticked. But the worst part is my sister told her friend why the toilet had been clogged, and I was forever known as the Orange Boy. I mean this in the nicest possible way, but boy, you must be mentally challenged. Great story.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 13. Oh man, the classroom corn debacle. When I was about 12, I saw a niche in the school playground market, and I, the bright little turnip that I was, decided to print off some pretty hardcore corn pictures to sell at school, like full-on super macro close-ups of a P and the V. I, however, am not a savvy businessman. For some reason, I decided to sell these shameful images in RE class. For the uninitiated, that's religious education. Of course, I was caught by my hyper-religious teacher, who was utterly astonished that the little old me would debase her and the rest of the female kind with my little venture. I tried to blame it on my then and current friend, but she smelled the perversion in my sweat. She told the head told my parents cut me off from the internet, and I haven't looked them in the eye for the last, decade or so. I still really like corn, though. Story 14. Went on a vacation with a friend's family as a hormonal, barely 15-year-old. Shared the same room as my friend. Fapped in the same room as my friend. Friend. Dude, what are you doing? Me. Scratching. Continued to fap all week. Yeah, my friends called me out on that till I drunkenly admitted to it 5 years down the line. The worst part is, they were talking about something else, and I thought they were pressuring me to fess up to it due to drunken misunderstanding. So I confessed my shame. I never really thought about why she bought the old place. I mean, I know her grandma meant a lot to her, but okay, fine, I admit. I jerked off next to you on vacation. Story 15. When I was 16, I was curious about self-stimulation, and so I went to the AOL chat room for tips. One nice guy told me about a long candle. So one night, I tried it. It just hurt, so I just put the candle behind my TV. Months later, My mom was in my room cleaning and talking to me when she found the candle. Well, I'm horrible at keeping cool, and so when she asked what the candle was doing in my room, I started freaking out and was like, "What? I didn't do anything with that. Don't touch that." My mom looked at me, laughed, and told me, "Haha, I just thought you wanted to light a candle. Good for you for trying." That's hilarious. Story 16. When I was a kid, my parents used to get the Adam and Eve spicy catalog where you could order adult toys and DVDs. The 90s. Woo! So one day I found a bag of old flyers and stuff that they were throwing out, and for some reason I looked inside and it had a bunch of these catalogs in them. So I took like 4 others and hid them under a drawer in my dresser, so I would dig them out when it was gentleman's time. I was probably 13 at the time, and one day my mom was helping me clean my room to donate some clothes, and she fully pulled out the bottom drawer of the dresser and found my stash of corn catalogs and made me throw them out. In hindsight, not really that bad, but at the time I was like a freaking deer in headlights. Story 17. I used to never pee standing up unless at a urinal. So one time I went to a relative's house and had to really pee, so 14-year-old me just started peeing without putting the toilet seat up. I had no idea that the pee would go everywhere like that, so before I had time to react and adjust my aim, I had already peed on the ground and the toilet seat, so I panicked and took a towel that was being dried and wiped all of the pee and then casually hanged it back, hoping that no one would notice. The next day, I see that my relative's wife is smelling the towel and then just staring at me. I panicked, so I laughed at her and then realized what I had just done and ran away and kept on avoiding her till I left. Story 18. I got drunk and peed the bed and all over my girlfriend. Like I peed all over her. It was around 4 a.m., so I knew she wasn't leaving anytime soon. I didn't know what to do and just laid there for hours trying to block her from the wetness, which was almost the entire bed. She finally got up to go to the bathroom. When she was in, I took off the fitted sheets and laid some clothes over the spot the best I could and lay down on top of the urine, which was all over the bed, so she had about 1 foot of dry space to sleep. She kept telling me to move over and quit hogging the bed. We started to actually fight about it, and I just blew up. "Fine, I peed the frickin' bed." Story 19. First time I trimmed my pubes, I tried being all sneaky about it and used a pair of scissors so nobody would hear the electric razor. I dumped the pubes in the toilet and shut the lid. A few hours later, the family and I were at the dinner table, and my sister pulled out her phone and brought up a picture of all my pubes in the toilet. I forgot to flush. My dad was trying so hard to hold in his laugh. My mom just let the laugh out, and my sister had that look of satisfaction of embarrassing me. You should have asked her why she had taken a picture of her pubes. Story 20. Here's mine. I used to sneak corn from my uncle. I basically had to go downstairs. It was another 1-level apartment type place. He hid the VHS corn behind his bar. One night I was returning a video, and he was in the room around the corner. With a small flashlight, I inched my way behind the bar, trying not to make any noise, but then he came out, hearing something. I covered the light and froze, and do I mean freaking froze. He stopped right by the bar, looking just over me to the entrance of the place. He saw nothing, and just when he turned to leave, he spotted me there. What happened next was the most amazing butt-whipping my mom ever gave me after finding out. Story 21. When I was about 12, I used up all my parents' toner printing out lady pics. I got interrogated about it, and I refused to crack. The next day, before my parents got home, I burned the pictures as best I could and stuffed them into the trash can. When my mom got home, she freaked out about the house smelling like fire, found the pictures, and busted out laughing. The rents got a kick out of it, and I was embarrassed as heck. This was the best one. Story 22. When I was younger, I went through Q-tips like crazy. I used them to clean my nose, my ears, and my teeth, whatever I felt needed cleaning, sometimes multiple times a day. Embarrassed by how many Q-tips I used and not wanting to get in trouble, I started flushing them down the toilet. The toilet got backed up, so they called a plumber. When they questioned me, I blamed it on a neighbor kid that visited a lot. They reamed her out and never let her over again. When she spoke to me about it, I said it must have been my brother. I never got caught, but I sure as heck was more careful after that. Story 23. When I was about 10, my dad was dating the woman of a girl I went to school with. Circumstances led to me having to sleep over at their house. I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I ended up pooping my pants. I was able to hide my underwear in my bag, and I had other clothes, so I figured it was good. The next morning, while we were sitting down for breakfast, the girl and her sisters came running down with my tighty-whities on a stick, screaming, "He pooped his pants!" Absolutely horrifying. The woman of a girl just sounds weird. I know what you meant to type, but still funny. Story 24. One time I went to Florida when I was 14 by myself to stay with some family down there for the summer. I was super paranoid about pooping in other places besides my own house. So I was holding this poop in for like a week and a half, and when I finally went, it was in my aunt's house, and I clogged the toilet with 2 huge logs. I was so embarrassed, but I couldn't get them to flush, so then my aunt came in and tried to plunge it, and the poop came flying up and got on her. I was mad and embarrassed. Story 25. Mustaches are not generally attractive to women. I have a slight one that I use Nair to get rid of whenever it comes back. Freshman year of college, both my roommates were going to be out, so I used the time to myself to take care of my stash. One of them unexpectedly came back, so I ran to the bathroom. I wiped it off, but she still asked me what I was doing and what was on my face. So I told her, and then she told me she just waxes hers. So we ended up laughing about it. Story 26. When I was a teen, I self-stimulated, fantasizing about my cousin, and Googled exactly that because I was weirded out by what I just did, and a bit curious about, did anyone else have any similar experience? I Googled it on an old Nokia, and I didn't know how to delete the search history. Long story short, my brother saw that and mocked me. I shrugged it off, said something like, "It were my stupid frisky classmates frickin' around with my phone," and he somehow believed me. Or maybe he didn't, but tried to make it look like he did. I prefer it that way. Story 27. I was at boarding school and was self-stimulating in my room when I was on a study period. Suddenly, my door started to open, so I quickly pulled up my trousers and underwear and stood up. No idea why I did this. And my house mistress walked in, but it was too late. I was already finishing in my trousers. I stood there and looked her in the eyes as I orgasmed in my trousers. Waves of pleasure racked my peen, and waves of soul-melting embarrassment crashed over my very being. Story 28. I was 14 and on my period. I didn't like tampons, so I wore pads. I was running with a friend across a parking lot, and it fell, down my leg, and onto the pavement. My friend heard it hit and asked me if it was mine. I tried to say it wasn't, but she never believed me. She did the honorable thing and picked it up with a tissue and then threw it away. Too long didn't read? My friend picked up my bloody pad. Story 29. When I was 13, I tried to smoke some bay leaves, got paranoid, and ran around in circles in my room and broke my speakers. They say bay leaves are a gateway herb. Soon you'll be shooting up nutmeg. Story 30. 8 years old, riding my bike, and farted. Ended up being a huge, corny shart. Went directly home, refusing to sit on the seat, hid the underwear at the top of my closet so no one would ever find it. Took my dad 5 minutes to wonder why I came home from the park early. Took less time to smell why, and I confessed. Too long didn't read? Pooped my pants, hid underwear in my closet. Dad found out using super dad senses. Story 31. When I was 10, I used to steal my sister's Barbies and put them in copulating positions with my G.I. Joes all naked. One day, while playing out my prepubescent fantasy, my dad knocked on my bedroom door, so I freaked out and threw the Barbies and G.I. Joes into my closet. He heard me slam the door, so he walked in and looked in the closet and found a naked G.I. Joe wrapped around a naked Barbie. Good times. Story 32. When I was young, my brother and I shared a bedroom and a bunk bed. He had the bottom, I had the top. One day when I was very young, maybe 8, my little brother did something that made me mad, so I crawled under our bed and scrawled, "Little brother is stupid" on the wall where no one would ever see it. Fast forward to 5 years later when we're moving out of the house. My parents caught me when the bed was removed. Story 33. Went swimming when I was about 10. When I finished, I picked up all my stuff out of the locker and went into a cubicle to get changed. Hadn't realized I'd dropped my knickers in transit. Not just any knickers, Barbie knickers. A few girls a bit older than me in the changing room started throwing them around to one another and laughing. 10-year-old me was devastated. Story 34. I had explosive diarrhea and pooped my pants in the realtor's office when my parents were looking for high-priced real estate. I cleaned myself in the bathroom, and the toilet had a warning about toilet paper, so I tossed it. It apparently smelled right away and only got worse when my parents talked to the realtor as I was cleaning myself. Story 35. I once got oral spicy time in a closet at a party. It was pitch black, so I couldn't see anything, and when the time came, the girl abruptly pulled away, and I accidentally finished all over my own shirt. I tried to wipe it off, but to no avail, and then had to walk around pretending like I wasn't covered in my own milky shame. Story 36. Pocket pool. The scratching part. First week in American school, my hygiene isn't up to standard yet. Long story short, trying to scratch my nuts and, well, my teacher calls me out on it. Funny thing is, I did not joke until 3 years later. I don't joke now. Story 37. Well, I took a condom a friend offered me for a party. I didn't use it. I didn't want anyone in the house to know, so naturally I tried to hide it. Mom was shocked, but my dad reassured her that one condom is a lifetime supply because I play too much Battlefield. Sick burn, Dad. Story 38. When I was younger, I drew a glory hole as detailed as my 10-year-old brain could remember from those black and white corn mags under my dad's bed. I would whack off to my masterpiece, and then my mom found it. We still haven't talked about it to this day. Only like 10% of kids do it. Story 39. When I was 8, some chewing gum got stuck to my hair, so I went to the toilet and cut a large freaking part of my hair off with a cursed nail clipper. Got a real good smack from Pap when he was combing my hair for daily school next week. Story 40. I was talking about how there was a new pretty coworker to my boss when my coworker was in my peripheral vision. Tried to hide it by saying it was someone else, and walked away. She was 23, I was 16, and my face was red. Story 41. I had a lot of paintings in my room. I hid corn images and my Eminem Marshall Mathers CD on the frames behind the pictures. My dad checked one day and found all my stuff. Story 42. At uni. Am self-stimulating. Don't lock door. Friend walks in. Grabs towel and pretend I've just had a shower. Story 43. When I was 3, I pooped my pants and hid the poo under my bed in shame. My mom found it. Story 44. My grandparents found out I was smashing my boyfriend at the time. A poop storm ensued. Story 45. I am 18 years old, still afraid to get caught self-stimulating. Story 46. Self-stimulating.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.